Hello everyone, how are you doing on this beautiful Sunday? I am back on Chess 24 as you can tell. I believe this is my first stream of 2019 on Chess 24. That is quite unbelievable, but if you follow me on social media, you know that I've been very busy. So here I am, back on Chess 24, Banter Blitz with Anna, aka Miss Strategy. And Claudia is my usual opponent, but if you want to play instead of Claudia, challenge me on Chess 24 with increment please, because I talk a lot and I play very slow chess at the same time. So here we go, Banter Blitz on Chess 24. Hello everyone, I'm just looking at the chat on my other screen. How are you guys doing? I will wait for the first challenges. Remember, premium members always get priority. So here we go, first game. I need to abort this game with Claudia. I'm so sorry, Claudia. And the first player today will be... Challenge me with increment. I see so many challenges that are 5-0 or 3-0. It should be with increment. So here we go. First opponent of the day, Onam. And I'm gonna play with the black pieces. It's 3 plus 2, so 3 minutes plus 2 second increment blitz game. Here we go. Onam, your turn. Okay, I'm gonna play d5. The queen's gambit declined in case of c4. Oh, he's not going for that. We shall see what setup he wants to play. So now we are in the queen's gambit declined. And I will go for the standard setup with bishop e7, castle kingside. This is the exchange variation with the capture on d5. I like to include h6 and ask the bishop whether it wants to take on f6 or move to h4. Goes back to f4, interesting. I'll just ignore that move and castle. If knight b5, I have knight a6 defending the c7 pawn. Otherwise, I will play with the setup c6, bishop to f5 is a possibility here, but I need to check if there's anything going on against the b7 pawn. So bishop f5, queen b3. I can protect the pawn with b6. So let's play this move and prevent bishop to d3, the usual development of white. Or if he plays bishop d3, at least I managed to trade the dark squared bishop, which is not my best piece in this position. As you can see, he's trying to attack the pawn that I was talking about. I need to push it, I believe. Queen c8 would not defend the d5 pawn anymore, so I have to push this. In the future, I might want to play c5. So b6 can be a useful move, even though my bishop is not on b7. Let me know if everything is going well with the stream, if the volume is good, if the sound is okay, because I haven't been on Chess 24 for so long that who knows, maybe I have messed up my settings already. You know how good I am at IT skills, right? Shall I go c5 or c6, knight d7? Those are the two options. I think I'm gonna go c5. It's more of an active choice. It's also more risky. Like if he takes, I take back with the b pawn, queen b7, my rook is almost trapped. But he didn't play it, so I'm gonna go forward with the c pawn, c4 gaining more space on the queen side. Then knight c6, b5, b4 could come in the future. And the a pawn will be supporting the b pawn. So as I said, I'm gonna develop this knight. And in the future, I want to push b5. I'll need to prepare it though. It's not that simple. But I'm enjoying my extra space on the queen side, and white hasn't managed to gain control of the center. So usually if he could come up with f3, e4, a breakthrough in the center, that would be ideal, but white is very far away from a plan like that. You see that the knight is on f3. Well, has just jumped to e5, which is a good move. So knight e5 is a good move. And if I take, he might take back with the d pawn, opening the d file, and my pawn on d5 will be hanging. So I shouldn't take. If I shouldn't take, I need to defend this knight on c6 or move it away. Knight b4 to head towards c2 looks interesting, but I don't think I get much out of it. So I'm simply gonna defend this, I believe. Rook c8, queen c8, those are the two options I'm looking at. I don't want to play queen c7 because that steps into the diagonal of the f4 bishop. So queen c7 or queen d6 would have been both blunders, because knight g6 could grab the rook on f8 because my queen would have been hanging on c7 or d6. Thank you, Kasparov fan and Jonah, for confirming. Jeroen also, shout out to everyone watching here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, evening, morning. Where are you watching from? Let me know in which part of the world you are. I'm in Spain, it's 2 p.m. So I had a quick lunch. Normally I would eat at 2, so I was like, oh my stream started at 2. I cannot stick to my usual lunch schedule, but it's okay. I'm not gonna complain. I've had some food so that I wouldn't be starving on air, and I also had some chocolate because how could I not eat chocolate, right? It's needed for the stream. A bit of dark chocolate. So, I want to push b5, but for that I need to prepare that move. a6, b5. Also, I want to bring this rook to the c5 so that I have my pieces well set on the queen side, and the c6 knight will never be a problem. b3. Oh, maybe that's why I should have thought of a6, b5 earlier. Yeah, b3. That's a critical move. I'm gonna deal with this. I wish I could play b5 now, but I can't. I'm just gonna bother that rook for a moment. Bishop a3. If he goes back to... Well, no, it's not just bothering. Look at this. I was like, I'm just gonna bother that rook, but the rook doesn't have squares. If rook a1, bishop b2, I have trapped the rook. Woo! I trapped it without wanting to. But b takes c4 is still very interesting because c takes d5 will be a threat of a fork. So how I'm gonna get out of this, I need to calculate. B takes c4 is a critical move, and if bishop takes c1, c takes d5, my queen is hanging and my knight on c6 is hanging too. Maybe I should include a capture. Oh, he takes on c6, but now if I take with the queen, I'm not gonna be in that fork motif anymore. That's what I'm gonna do, because I don't want to enter in any fork. If I take, I'm gonna take now, and he can't take on d5 with the pawn because the knight on c3 is hanging. So suddenly I'm an exchange up. Yay! I like that. I think white could have taken on c4 earlier instead of the capture on c6. I'm gonna analyze that after the game. But now this is just losing for white because of the pin on the c5, the knight hanging on c3. Onam, you played very well, but from here on, this is a winning position for black. The only move is knight e2 to not lose material on the c file, but that will lead... Ooh! What's this sacrifice about? Oh, 97 check. I don't buy it. I'm gonna take this. 97 king f8 or king h7 2. Both moves are good, I believe, because he would have to take the queen first. He doesn't have time to take the rook. What is this move? Well, I can take on f1 even if I want to. Do I want to? Yeah, why not? Let's just simplify because I'm gonna take all his pieces. There's no back rank made. Bishop d3, king e1. Oh, it's an exchange. I didn't calculate well. Suddenly, this is still game on. I shouldn't have taken on f1. I didn't realize that my bishop was hanging, but anyway, I'm gonna win the game again. I'm going for the a pawn. Could have played rook c4 immediately as well. I'm gonna go for that a pawn or the f2 pawn in this case. He's got counterplay because he's got the d pass pawn, the g7 pawn is hanging, and I won on time. Onam, you fought very well and I messed things up by the end. I was super optimistic here because I'm like tons of material up. In this position, like I'm just a queen up. I could have moved the queen and then you take the rook, but it's still a queen up, so let's say a move like queen to c4. Knight takes, I can just take with the queen. And now I'm a queen up for a rook, so this was completely winning. But instead, I was like, I'm gonna be a genius. I'm gonna be a genius. And I wasn't a genius. Apologies, I've got allergy, so sometimes instead of sneezing, I better use a tissue. Therefore, in this position, it was a completely silly move to take on f1. I thought I'm a rook up, but I'm not a rook up because I take the bishop and he takes my bishop. So it's an exchange up. It's an exchange up only. Yeah, knight e7, king f8 was also a good move because then in this position, if now I take the rook and then I take the knight. This is a rook up, so I could have done this if I wanted an endgame where I'm a rook up, completely winning position, but instead I went king h7 and took on f1. I gave chances to Onam. Now, the mistake for white was earlier. I think the opening was very interesting, although I like that I have more space. Maybe here I can think of a6 first, so that b3, b5, but no, b3 is not a good move. What am I talking about? b3 shouldn't be a good move unless the tactics work. So this is the critical moment from the game, and I thought that white should take on c4. If I take the rook, then white goes c takes d5, and both my queen and the knight on c6 are hanging. So this could have been really interesting. If I move the queen away, first of all, where do I move it? Like if I move it here and he takes on c6 with a tempo, then he will even have time to capture my bishop. So I cannot make a move like that. I may consider taking on d5, sacrifice this knight, but then the c1 bishop will be captured. So better move the queen away. White has to use a tempo to capture my knight. Then I have a moment to move the bishop away. But this c6 pawn is a very strong pass pawn supported by these bishops, these monsters on f3 and f4. I think this position could well be just really good for white. c7 traps my rook, for instance. So Onam, I think you had a really interesting position. b3, bishop a3, b takes c4 could be the critical move. And I need to come up with a better response. I was considering to take on e5, so that if you take back with the bishop, now I take the rook, and there's no fork anymore. But the problem with knight takes e5 is that you can take back with the pawn if you want to. You take with the pawn, and now my knight on f6 is hanging. But this could still be perhaps okay. Bishop takes c1, e takes f6. Everything is hanging. My bishop on c1 is hanging. The pawn on d5 is hanging, and that's a fork too. Bishop takes d5. But I may have time for queen takes f6, and if the bishop is captured, I have this pin on the c file. What a messy position, very complex. But Onam, you played a really interesting game, so congratulations for your fighting spirit. And even at the end of the game, where you lost on time, you still had a winning, not winning, but you still had options. I wouldn't say that white has winning chances, but you have chances to survive this game because, well, not so easy because I'm gonna take the a4 pawn, but you have the d pass pawn. No, probably by this stage it's already bad again, but you fought very well, and I think that's the most important. Those of you asking why not bishop d3 check, let me show you. It wasn't mate, unfortunately. So I take here, I can give... Oh, I'm so silly. No, you're right, completely. I was like, I'm not gonna give this check because it's not mate. King g1, rook c1, back rank mate. But white can instead play king e1 and it's not mate. But you guys are completely right. I'm still asleep. Rook takes a8 now is a rook up. What a silly mistake, I know. Totally. This is a completely winning position and you guys are right. Yeah, I should have just given the check and then take on a8 and it's a completely winning position. Oh well. Here is my first Banter Blitz of the year, starting on a high note. On a very high note, right? At least I didn't lose the game. Trying to think positive. But clearly I'm warming up. I'm not fully in the game yet. Let's go. Anna, you gotta enter the play zone in your head too and focus on the game fully. So here we go, next challenge. Challenge me on Chess24, premium members always get priority, and it shall be a game with increment. I see a challenge again from Onam, but I cannot play against you one more time today. I will play against you in the future, I promise, because I need to give you a rematch, I know. But today I need to give a chance to other players too, so I'm gonna search for usernames I haven't played against lately, which means anybody, because this year I haven't played Banter Blitz at all. Like, have I? No, I think I haven't. But it's random and custom. Don't challenge me for weird games. I'm not gonna go for that. Like, you guys set up some challenges that are not classical chess and I don't know what they are. So I cannot click on those because I don't know what is there. You know, it's like a box with a surprise in it and you don't know what that surprise is and if you're gonna like it. Or like the Harry Potter candies that may taste well or may taste like, ugh, I'm not gonna say what flavor. If you have read or watched Harry Potter, it's my teenage years. Okay, you're gonna play. I think what Kasparov fan is planning is that after c5, which is the main move here, he wants to go for the gambit with b4. Bet? Shall we bet on it? b4. No, he doesn't play it. b4 is an interesting gambit. I thought that was his idea. The check on b5 though, I'm not sure that it's a good idea in general because that's a bishop I wanna trade and you're helping me trade it. So I don't really recommend bishop b5 check just so that you can castle quickly. I'm heading to c6 with this knight and then develop the f8 bishop. I wish I did not have allergy, but I will just go with the flow, whatever it takes to play. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, so I can't know on which days I will feel better in terms of like sneezing or needing the tissue all the time. It's like if you had a flu constantly, but it's not a flu. Anyway, I hope this is the biggest problem in my life. And the position I really like. I have developed all my pieces, most of my pieces. The rooks are still missing, but for being a French defense, I'm very happy about this. I don't have my bad bishop anymore. And I even have good control of the center. I'm gonna expand on the queen side with a6, b5. Then I can place my queen on b6. Bring the rook to the c file. I like this position. He played a3, a prophylactic move, I believe, against b4, because if he pushes b4, that will weaken his position too much. So queen b6 is an option, but another one is to put more pressure on this e5 pawn. I'm gonna go queen c7. Okay, it's being defended. I'm just gonna bring the rooks to the c and d files. In the future, I may think about pushing d4 or a5, b4. I should prepare a5, b4. And the knight. This knight maneuver I love. Heading toward the c4 square with my knight. I'm looking at the chat, so if you guys have questions, feel free to ask, especially about the game, because you know that on Chess24, I focus on the games, try to be as instructive as I can, explain my thought process, and on my own Twitch channel, where I'm gonna be streaming tonight, I've got my new mug. on my own channel on Twitch, that's where it's more of like a chit chat. I talk about any topics that you guys want me to, and it's more of a hangout. So this is a more serious chess show. Ooh, what do you want against my king? Go away, queen. What's that queen g5 move? Very aggressive. Wants to give me mate. So yeah, on my own Twitch channel, it's more of a hangout, casual. I play lots of chess games too, but it's more casual. And it's like a very community-based experience. And on Chess24, it's more about being instructive and talking about the games mainly. This is how I divided my two different platforms. Do I need g6 or not? Knight g5 is an option in the future, but yeah, knight g5 will attack both the h7 and f7 pawns. I can take it. So I'm thinking of knight takes a3, just grabbing a pawn because I'm a pawn grabber. Or g6, queen h6. Nah, why would I? Why would I wanna weaken my king? Let's just go for the pawn. And if knight g5, I'm gonna take that knight. And then a c2 pawn is hanging to the b4 as well. I'm taking like 2-3 pawns in a few moves. Yes, Activa Springer, I agree that it's similar to the Steinitz variation. Ooh, knight takes d5 sacrifice? What's this about? If e takes d5, e6, my queen is hanging and the f7 pawn. Interesting, but it may not be good. So I'm gonna test it. First of all, rook takes or e takes, and I don't have much time. As a principle, trading pieces would be a good idea. So let's go for it. But it doesn't mean that it's always good, of course. It's a principle. And bishop d6, then bishop takes, queen f7. Ooh, yeah, I don't like that. So if I move the queen, queen d8, he captures on f7. Yeah, let's go with this. I don't think I get mated, and I don't want that pawn to promote, so I'm not playing bishop d6. Queen f7, king h8, and if e takes f7, king h8 again. I'm a piece up, and knight takes c2 is still an option for me in the future. I like that I have taken on d5 with the rook because it gave me the d8 square for the queen. So it freed that square, and therefore now I'm protecting quite a lot of important squares with my queen. For instance, that g5 square, but the thing is bishop takes g5, rook e8, queen takes c8, pawn takes, that's a queen, so I shouldn't play that. Am I getting mated? h6, queen g6. Oh my, no, I'm getting mated. Because h6, look at this. Queen g6 is now a very strong move in my opinion. Because if I take with the pawn on g5, queen h5 is mate. And if I take on g5 at the bishop, then rook e8 check. I'm lost. He didn't see it. It still may be bad for me, but I think white was completely winning a move earlier. Goodness me, what a game. Queen g6 is still a very strong move. Because if bishop f6, he promotes the pawn. And if bishop f8... Now bishop f8 can still hold. I might survive this, but I think the position was completely lost. I'm gonna show it to you guys after the game. I'm gonna show it. I still haven't survived it, so knight takes, rook e8. Oh, ouch, that pawn on f7. I totally underestimated this sacrifice. I think Kasparov is just winning. It's still winning. It is still winning for white in my opinion. Goodness me. Yeah, knight takes, rook e8. And if queen takes f7, queen takes f7. He's going for it. He sees it. I don't have a way out of this, do I? No, and after rook e8, I cannot defend the rook. What's this move? Why did he not play rook e8? Now I'm surviving again. I'm surviving. I'm a piece up. And no queens on the board. What? Kasparov fan, you missed your chance. Wow. How lucky I was. How lucky. I'm super lucky. This is my lucky day. This is my lucky day. And I know it. I know that this is my lucky day. I'm sorry, Kasparov fan. I'll show you after the game how you were winning on several occasions during the game. So many times it was winning. Now I'm just gonna go to b1 with the rook. And it's game over. Goodness me, what a game. Kasparov fan, first of all, I need to congratulate you for your attacking skills. I wasn't buying your sacrifice. I thought it wasn't a good sacrifice. But then I ended up in a completely lost position. I'm completely lost. I'll show you guys. So, the moment where white starts the sacrifices. First of all, I think queen g5 is a good move probably in terms of practical chances because black is doing very well on the queen side. So knight c4, my knight is beautiful. I'm about to capture the a3 pawn or at least put a lot of pressure on the c file, on those pawns on the queen side. Queen g5 therefore should be a good practical chance because you start to counter attack, and that's very important that yeah, the queen side is on fire. If it's my turn again, I'm gonna take on b4 or on c2 or both pawns. I'm like 3 pawns up, everything is hanging on the queen side, but you started creating chances on the queen side, and this is very instructive. This is what you guys should do. So yes, maybe objectively white is gonna be lots of pawns down, but at least he started creating an attack on the king side, and I didn't defend well. Like knight takes d5 now. Wow, I did not think that this sacrifice could work. So I took with the rook, and after rook takes d5, e takes d5, e6, I was telling you guys that everything is under control, but it's not true. The thing is, after e takes f7 check, king h8, I think white is winning. Knight g5 is an amazing move, and I cannot take it because it's rook e8 check, and I lost. It's mate. I take, and it's a new queen. Back rank mate. Next move, rook takes e8, queen takes e8. Wow. And after h6, look at this, Kasparov fan. You had a beautiful win. You had a beautiful win. No, Kasparov, you're not mentally ill. I'm just reading your comments. You are brilliant. You are brilliant. Look at this. After h6, you can play queen to g6. This is such a beautiful move. You are threatening queen h7 mate. Now, if I take on g5 with the bishop, it's the same thing, rook e8, and I'm getting mated or losing my queen, or both. I mean, a queen up. That's just enough, right? And if I want to take on g5 with the pawn, then you go back to h5 and it's mate. It's mate because of the f7 pawn. Wow, this would have been beautiful. I don't have a move here, Kasparov. All you needed to do to beat me in this game was to play queen to g6. It's game over. I don't have a move. I cannot defend the h7 square because my knights are too far away from the king side. I cannot bring the queen to g8. There's no move. Black is completely lost. That was it. That was it. And even later. So here, this was mate. It was mate or winning my queen. Instead of this, you played knight to e6. Even here, after bishop f8, I'm not surviving. So the thing is, I knew that bishop f8 is a bad move, but I don't have a choice. If bishop f6, f8, well, rook or queen, queen normally, but I will need to take it anyway. Now this is an exchange up for white, and the rook is coming to e8, so I'm gonna be, well, no, not just that. I mean, my queen is hanging and queen h7 mate. You don't even need the rook. It's just the knight and the queen, and I'm getting mated. Queen h7 mate, next move, or I lose my queen. Terrible, it's completely lost. So I can't play bishop f6. I went bishop f8 instead, but now you can take on f8. I know that normally trades, when you are like a piece down, normally trades are not good, but here the f7 pawn is worth more than my knights. So the position is winning because you have a very strong passed pawn. It's one square away from promotion, and after capturing on f8 and rook e8, I don't have a way to prevent the promotion of this pawn because I cannot take this pawn because queen takes f7, pin! It's a back rank pin. I'm completely lost after rook e8. I cannot defend the rook because the d6 square is under control, the e7 square is under control, my knights are too far away, cannot take the pawn, I cannot take on e8. I'm completely lost, Kasparov. Completely lost. That's it. That's it. This is how lost my position was, that even after not getting mated a few moves ago, you were still winning, but you played bishop e5, and that's the mistake. This is where you gave away the victory, and not just the victory, a full point, because after the trade, I have the tempo I needed to eliminate your passed pawn, because that pawn was winning the game. So after queen takes f7, it's game over because you don't have enough pieces to attack and that pawn is gone. But what a brilliant attack, Kasparov. There was that f7 pawn, really so creative. Knight takes d5. Maybe in hindsight, of course, in hindsight, we can be very smart. I should have tried then to keep the rooks on the board because that means that, yeah, more pieces on the board, but I have more defense on the back rank. So if e6, first of all, in this position, I can play bishop d6 because after bishop takes d6, I can take on d6 with the rook and the f7 pawn is protected. This I didn't see. So when I traded rooks, I didn't realize that this is so strong. I thought that here I'm defending everything, and no, this is a lost position for black because of knight g5. Amazing move. You should be very proud of yourself, Kasparov. Instead, I should have kept the rooks on the board, e takes d5, e6, bishop d6 I can play finally, because if there's a capture, I can take with the queen, the bishop is not hanging on d6. So this was the solution for me. So knight takes d5 is objectively, I believe, not a correct sacrifice, but in a practical game, in a blitz game, it worked out perfectly. I didn't find the best response to it, and I was completely lost 2 moves later. So well done, Kasparov. Good job. Very good game. I'm super impressed. I'm so impressed that I'm gonna play a few more games, but it's just because I know that so many of you want to have a chance to play against me today, but I could stay here forever and ever and ever analyzing this game. So very, very well played. Very well played. I'm accepting the next challenge. Jonah, you are having the white pieces. I give you that advantage, and I welcome you to play e4, and then I can go for my beloved opening, the French defense. I know it's not the best opening in the world objectively, but I really like the French defense, and I think everyone should play openings that they like. So stick to your style, stick to your personal preferences instead of just listening to people, what they say about your opening. And you don't have to play the openings that the top 10 players do, because they study chess the whole day. Chess is their profession. Remember that you don't have that much time for chess, so you shouldn't want to play the same sharp Najdorf if you don't have time to study it 10 hours a day. That's my opinion. So be very efficient with your time. This is the Tarrasch variation, and I like the bishop e7 setup. He wants to go for the pawn sacrifice lines, but with the bishop on e2, normally that bishop is on d3. That makes me wonder if this is gonna go well for him. I can castle, or I can start attacking the d4 pawn. It makes me confused that the bishop is on e2. Normally it's on d3, so I'm comparing the differences. That's what I'm doing right now. Normally the bishop would be on d3, it's more active on d3. So I would say that this is a better version for me if the bishop is on e2, but this is so far a very superficial analysis by me. I'm thinking of whether to take on d4 and queen b6, knight b3, a5, a4. Queen b6 now, he can take on c5 if he wants to. How's that position? Well, let's see. I'm gonna ask that pawn. How does white want to protect the pawn? With the bishop on d3, oftentimes white just gives up the d3 pawn. Sorry, not the d3, the d4 pawn. So bishop on d3 and the d4 pawn is often sacrificed. But with the bishop on e2, I don't think that white can just give up the d4 pawn, because his pieces are not as active as in the other variations of the French Tarrasch. And I'm gonna get that pawn. So I think white should take on c5. And that's what he does. But that means that the pawn structure has changed in the center. I don't have that much of a space disadvantage anymore. My knight is active on c5. The bishop can be developed to d7. Knight b3. Okay, he's heading toward the d4 square. I can take on b3 if I want to. Will he take back with the pawn or with the queen? Open the a file. Is that something I want? Or simply, I'm just gonna jump to d4 square, bishop e3. Interesting lines. Knight e4, bishop e3. My queen is a little bit awkward. Back to c7, attacking the e5 pawn. Yeah, let's see that. I like the knight on e4. It sometimes can be a very good piece. Other times it's like about to be trapped, because even though it's a very centralized and nicely looking knight on e4, it doesn't have many squares. Imagine bishop e3, queen c7. If the knight moves away from f3, my knight is almost trapped after f3. My point is that the e4 knight will take time to be attacked, and the e5 pawn is always hanging in the meantime. So I'm gonna be attacking the e5 pawn. But first, finishing my development. I think that should be my priority, to castle. Yes, active Springer. Normally the knight goes to e2, so the bishop on d3, knight on e2. Or if the knight goes to f3, still the bishop is on d3. So in every variation of the Tarrasch, the bishop is on d3. That's why I was trying to figure out the difference. You know, just comparing the positions. Am I a pawn grabber? I am, and that b2 pawn is hanging. It's very much hanging. It's a bit risky to get there with your queen. Sometimes the queen can be trapped, but my idea here is that it's not just about the b2 pawn, but also the c3 pawn is hanging. If knight b5 threatening rook b1 dance, I don't think he has time for it, because knight takes c3 comes. Otherwise it would be good if the knight could be placed on b5 quickly and then attack my queen. But I don't think white has the time because of my knight on e4. So I'm feeling good about this. Capture, I'm gonna take back. So next move, knight takes c3 or queen takes c3, depends on what white does. But that pawn won't survive unless he plays c4, but in case of c4, knight c3, and the bishop on e2 is hanging. Ooh, that's even worse. Hey, Jonah, I was just telling you about this. I know you don't have time to listen. During a blitz game, normally my opponents don't listen to the stream, and there's a delay between when something is said on the stream and when it's played on the board. So I know that you can't hear it in time, but hey, this is what I was talking about. Now it's a piece up. Anyway, I should still be a little bit careful because the knight on e2 doesn't have many squares and rook b1 is a possibility. So I'm gonna play d4, d4 rook b1, d4 rook b1. I take on a2. He can take on d4, but then my knight will be traded so it doesn't get trapped. I just need to make sure that I don't lose the knight on e2, that's all. Bishop to d2, but that gives me time to play d3, and if rook b1, I'll just move the queen away. My queen is not getting trapped and the knight is defended. Look at my d-pass pawn. Yay! Am I a pawn grabber? Yes, I am. I'm gonna take even more material. It was not that needed to take the a2 pawn, but it attacks the c4 pawn, so I'm mainly focusing on the c4 pawn. I can take it right now or develop a piece. Bishop d7, rook b7 though, or bishop a6, rook a1, queen takes c4. Let's just take the pawn first and then see. I'm so greedy. I'm so greedy. a5, bishop b4 is something I like, instead of moving the bishop from c8, because that will help me bother the queen. First, I'm gonna defend the pawn on d3. I'm not giving it to you. And now bishop b4 is my threat. Bishop to b4. The queen has barely any squares. My pawn on d3 is very happy, but I'm gonna support it even further with my pieces. You wanna trade? We can trade. Or I can push. Yeah, let's just push first. I don't have much time, so I should be careful about the time. Ooh, I could have played knight c3 fork. I didn't. I didn't realize. Now it's a bit too late. And I could have played d2 and then knight c3. Okay, I'm not playing the best moves. I'm not playing the best moves here, clearly. I'm gonna take on d2. Now this is a fork. Finally, I made the fork I should have played earlier. Bishop e2 I like first. And I can take on e1 too, but now the rooks are hanging. And this is just a very sad position. Very sad position. Rook d1 next move. I'm winning the knight. He's very quick, but my position is completely winning, so it doesn't really matter. It's a queen. And now I have two rooks and a queen up. I'm just gonna bring my queen. And it shall be checkmate with a pawn. I love pawn mates. g6. Knight g3 is also mate, but g6. I like a lot positions where the mate is given by a pawn. The tiniest, least valuable piece finishes the game. That's my favorite checkmate. Any position with a pawn checkmate. Thank you for the game, Jonah. I think you fought very well, but there were a few problems. First of all, if you want to sacrifice the pawn, I think it's better to go with the bishop d3 variations. So there are positions where simply white just gives up the d4 pawn. That's what I was saying, that in positions like this, when black plays queen b6, white oftentimes doesn't even care about that pawn. You can give it up and then play this position where, yes, I take the d4 pawn, but you have a lot of activity, knight f3 or knight b3, bishop e3, so you get a lot of initiative for the pawn. I need to move my queen and then I need to move my queen again. It's a lot of initiative, and it's a gambit that many players like to play. With the bishop on d3. With the bishop on e2, I think it's a bit more passive, and in most positions, like you guys were asking me about bishop d3, it's not the same line here, but yes, like for instance, the classical Tarrasch would be knight f6, e5, knight d7, then bishop d3, c5, c3, knight c6, and knight e2. This is the classical position of the Tarrasch variation. Bishop on d3, the knight comes to e2. You may wonder why the knight on e2, but the idea is that that will give the f3 square to the other knight. So castle, castle, knight f3, positions like this. So the g1 knight goes to e2 because that leaves the f3 square free for the d2 knight. And this is a very comfortable position for white. Still a standard position in the Tarrasch, so nothing is decided here, but this is a usual development for white with the bishop on d3, knight coming to e2, the other knight goes to f3. Now in the game, it's not the same because I played bishop e7 here, it's a different line. But still, I think you should place your bishop on d3. And it's a very similar game to what you were trying to get, Jonah, but the bishop is more active on d3. It's attacking the h7 pawn, and when I castle, you will want to be attacking the squares around my king. So the bishop on d3 is more active, just in general. Now what happened in the game later? Why did it go so wrong for white? Here, I think this is still okay, this position. And then, after bishop, here, bishop e3. It looks like a very active and aggressive move, but I don't think you can give me the b2 pawn. Because it's not just about the b2 pawn, it's about the c3 pawn hanging too. So if rook b1, I'm going to take on c3 as well. The a2 pawn is hanging too, knight takes c3 is an option for me in most of the lines as well. So don't give me the b2 pawn, I think that was the mistake. It looks like a very nice developing move. You're threatening with discovered attacks, knight f5, knight takes e6 and such, knight b5. But after capturing the b2 pawn, I think black is just in time to take on c3. So there's no moment for white to play knight b5 because I'm gonna take on c3 and this is second pawn. It's too much material. Don't give me the b2 pawn. That's the conclusion I think that I can give you from this game. If you wanna play the bishop e3 move, then let's defend first the b2 pawn. For instance, earlier you played knight b3, now you can go queen b3, and if we trade a takes b3, I think this is an interesting option because it opens up the a file for your rook and then you can develop your bishop. So anything but giving me the b2 pawn. And if you don't want to trade, well, queen c2, I don't like much the queen on the c file because that's a semi-open file for me, so bishop d7, rook c8, but even that is better than giving me the pawn. So anything but giving me extra pawn or two by capturing on b2. I think I have time for one more game or two more games depending on how quick the game will go. So I'm gonna wait for your next challenges. It should be 3+2 or 5+2, anything with increment and premium members get priority. I'm just gonna check if there are any questions about this game. Jonah, if you follow me on social media, you may realize that I have been very busy. That's the reason why this is my first game in 2019 on Chess24. I love playing Banter Blitz, but I just didn't have time for it. I was in Chile mainly, and I'm broadcasting the Pro Chess League. I have my own streams on Twitch. And tonight too, I'm streaming on my own channel. It's a sub battle against Alexandra Botes and Team Anna. Team Anna is going to win, I'm telling you. It's gonna be tonight. If you check out my social media, you will know what event I'm talking about. So, who shall be my next and maybe last opponent of the day? I'll be back next week, so if you don't get a chance today, don't worry, I'll be back next week. Okay, 3+2, I think, Shaktomi, I have accepted your challenge. I'm playing with the black pieces like every single game, is that? Chess24, I don't know what you're doing to me. Just because I have been away for 2 months, you are giving me the black pieces in every game, but it's okay. It means I can play the French defense in every single game. In every single game. Yay! French defense hype. I'm using all my Twitch vocabulary, I know. I'm very used to streaming on Twitch. This is the main line of the knight c3 variation, the classical variation of the French. Knight e2, now that usually prepares c3, and for that reason, oftentimes black should consider taking on d4. That will allow knight takes d4, knight e takes d4 and develop the bishop, so it has its pros and cons. I will not care for now, I'll just castle. Karsten, yeah, I think knight f6 is more than playable. It's the classical variation of the French defense. I like a lot knight f6, both against the Tarrasch and against the classical, that is knight c3. So I'm gonna expand on the queen side. White is developing on the king side. This is quite typical in the French defense, as you can see. I can play c4, b4. Probably I'm gonna go for both. Now that the d4 pawn is so well protected, I should try to create attack on the queen side against the c3 pawn mainly. He takes on c5, that's interesting. I would say that white does not want to take that pawn after c3. But let's see what's his idea. He hasn't castled yet, so I don't think that opening the position is good for white until he hasn't finished development. So I was expecting castle kingside by Schachtomi and then going for something concrete. Going for a concrete line, opening up the position when your king is still in the middle of the board is not a good idea. Now I'm threatening knight d3 check, so he should castle, but knight d3 comes anyway and queen b6 check, those lines. I don't think that this is so good for Schachtomi. Okay, this is double-edged if I place my knight on d3, because how will that knight get out of there? And queen b6, knight d4, he can still survive because of protecting the diagonal. Knight d3, attacking the b2 pawn. He's gonna defend it and then try to attack my knight on c5. Okay, I'm gonna go for this. This is interesting. I'm not that convinced because the problem is after queen b6 he always has knight to d4, so my discovered attack ideas are not that strong. And the knight will be a little awkward if queen d2 or queen c2 as well. Okay, b4 is a threat now, so I'm gonna play queen to b6. I'm expecting knight d4 to not allow a discovered check. Knight d4. But that gives up the b2 pawn. Yeah, he doesn't have time for it. Ooh. So in this case, it should be good for me. And if b3, I can take that pawn because it's a check. b3, knight e4, check, knight d4. So the check in itself is not a problem, but if he pushes the b pawn, I'm gonna take it with a check. Discovered attack. Yes, Mihailo, thank you for clarifying it in the chat. I play both 3+2 or 5+2 games, but I think that I may not have time for one more game after this. Okay, this is what I was saying. If b3, I'm gonna take this pawn because it's a check and the rook is hanging. So I don't know if I will have time for one more game, but if not, I'll be back next week. Same day, same time probably. So make sure to come back next Sunday. I can take the rook, or I can play knight f2 check. But if knight f2 check, rook takes f2, queen takes f2, and then he takes my knight, he's gonna have two pieces for the rook. So that's why I will take the rook on a1. And now I need to somehow save that knight. And I think the only way to do that is by playing queen to b2, so that I'm protecting the knight and I'm threatening knight to c2. Get out of the a1 square. Because if white manages to take the knight on a1, he will have two pieces for the rook. Therefore, my advantage will only remain if I manage to save this. Oh, knight c2, rook f2, but I have a back rank check or even knight b4. That should be good enough, I think. Also, I have... No, he's threatening rook b1. I need to move. But rook b1 anyway, knight b4. What's that position? Both queens will be hanging. So now I cannot move the queen away because the knight drops. I have to play knight b4. This is very exciting, but queen d4 probably he has. And if I move the queen, then the knight drops. Queen d4 looks like a good move. I cannot attack the queen again because he will take my queen, and once I take on d4, he takes the piece. So he got back the piece. I didn't manage to save it. Okay, let's not panic. I will create counterplay anyway. So I'm losing the knight. I'll check in the postmortem if I had a chance to save it. Maybe it was all forced. But I want to play a5, bishop a6, develop my pieces as quickly as I can. Well, let's trade. Bishop a6, bring my rooks, not knights. The rooks, I don't have knights. Okay, if rook c8, knight b6, I have a back rank check, so that's okay. I can also play rook b8. No, but I'm gonna bring this first to the c file. Because I don't want the knight coming to b6. Okay. In general, I want to trade a rook, because that will increase the power of my rook if I'm the only one with the rook on the board. But he's got 2 minor pieces, so it's a rook and a pawn for me for 2 minor pieces. What's great about my position is that his pieces are not coordinating. The knight on c5 is well placed, but it's very far from the rest of his pieces. And now I'm gonna start attacking this a pawn. I should hurry up though. I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm gonna activate the king, because you need your king in endgames. It's an important piece. It's an important piece. Ooh, I stepped into the check and taking my pawn. King e7 was not a good move. So activating your king is important, but not by stepping into tactics. So I'm moving out of that. I'm moving out of that. And I'm making some random moves, because I don't have time. I'm gonna attack this knight. I need the d pawn. The d pass pawn is what should win the game for me, but now I want that a pawn somehow. Can I get his a pawn? No, I'm getting the g pawn now. Yeah, the g pawn is important because that was defending the f4 pawn too and the h4 pawn. So now I'm winning pawns on the king side. My bishop, but rook c3, luckily. Knight takes c4, rook c3. Whew, I was very lucky there. I was really lucky. Check, and I'm taking on f4, defending my bishop. Whew, what a game. What a game. There will be plenty of things to analyze in this game, because it was really exciting. It's still not over. He's got the a pass pawn. I'm going with the d pass pawn, which should be stronger than his pass pawn. But it's still a pass pawn. He wants to promote his one. He's very close to doing it. Ooh, I'm not getting there. I thought I'd give a check and then I'd get back, but no! I'm not back in time! Ah, I need to give up my rook. This was a very bad trade. Oof. This is a horrible game, but he's gonna have no pieces to win it. He's gonna have no pieces. He has not enough pieces. Okay, I have lots of pawns. And even if I didn't have the pawns, this should be enough for a draw. But earlier, I was winning and losing at the same time. What a game. Shock Tommy, we played a very exciting game. I still have winning chances because of the pass pawns, so I'm not gonna go for the draw just yet. Let's take some chances. Let's take some chances with my pawns. Here we go. Here we go. Taking my chances. I'm taking my chances. Wanna play bishop h5. Okay. I can win this. I can win this still. Also, I can lose it, so it's double-edged. It's double-edged. I can win or lose it. I don't think it's gonna be a draw. I think it's gonna be decided. It's gonna be decided. Ah, that was smart. Now it's a draw. Because I cannot promote the pawn. I can't promote it. That was smart, Shock Tommy. He can take. It's a draw. Beautiful. Wow, what a game. It was so exciting. Shock Tommy. Woo! Wow. First of all, I need to take a deep breath. Second, I need a tissue because I've got allergy. Apologies for that. I told you already. Third, what a game. Shock Tommy, you played a very exciting game. Ups and downs for the whole game. Like here, I think I'm completely winning. Isn't it completely winning? Why is it not winning? So, I'm taking a rook. It's an exchange up. But the knight is not coming out of a1. How is this? How is this happening to me? Why is it happening? I really don't have a way to get out with the knight. So at the moment I'm an exchange up and I thought I should be winning. But for that I need to save the knight. How do I save that knight? If I play, well, I played knight c2, but I was thinking of, well, I can play queen c2 because the queen is hanging, and if queen takes, knight takes, that's what I want, but I don't think that white will help me. He's just gonna move the queen away. Queen e3 or queen d4, and the knight is hanging. It doesn't have a square. This is not good for me. And if I play something like a5 to threaten bishop to a6, he is about to play rook to b1. Now queen c2, the queen goes away. I still cannot save the knight. What if I play... Okay, maybe I know the solution. Move the bishop, because I need my rooks. So, if now rook b1, queen c2 is a tempo, the queen goes away to e3 or d4, and then I attack the knight on c3. Okay, this was the solution, because the knight cannot go away, the rook on b1 is hanging. So, I thought that my position should be winning, but it has to be very precisely played, because my knight is trapped on a1, it cannot get out of a1, and therefore I had to realize that I need to attack the c3 knight. Bishop d7, rook c8 was the solution, and then black's position should be winning. Instead, what happened in the game is that white gets back the piece. Because after rook b1, I cannot move the queen away because queen takes c2. And if I play what I played, knight b4, now of course white doesn't take the queen because I take his queen, I'm an exchange up, so queen d4 is a very important move, and it doesn't matter what I do, I lose the piece. If I move the queen, he takes on b4, and if I play knight c2 or knight c6, he's gonna take my queen, and now it's not the same because the knight is captured after the trade of the queens. So shocked on me, you found a chance to get my knight. I didn't realize I had to play bishop d7 here. Wait, is there a chance for you instead of rook b1, something else? No, I think this is it. This would have been winning for black. So I didn't see this. And after you take the knight, it's once again, the game is wide open. Who is better here? I thought I should be better because I've got a very active rook. When you have an exchange up, or when, in this case, it's two rooks versus... Well, sorry, it's a rook and a pawn versus two minor pieces. There are positions where the two minor pieces are better, there are positions where the rook and the pawn are stronger. Here I think the rook is stronger because your pieces are not coordinating. So the problem of white is that the knight on c5 is okay, but it's not helping, it's not in harmony with the rest of white's pieces. So if all the minor pieces of white would be attacking together, supported by each other, you see that this knight is very isolated from the rest of the white army. That's why the black position should be very good here. But I stepped into this check, knight c6 check, would have just picked up the pawn, and that pawn is very important because you have an a-pass pawn, and look, your g3 pawn is still alive, so I don't really have a counterplay here. I think this could be now suddenly winning for white if I don't manage to take this pawn in time. And I don't see how to win it. The c5 knight is defending it, so king e7 was a mistake by me. You didn't see the check, you played bishop f3. But even without the check, this could just be very strong. Knight to c6, how do I defend the pawn? I can't defend it, and I don't have rook b3 here. Yeah, you can just go for the a pawn. So what I was saying is that white's pieces are not collaborating well enough. Here it's not true anymore because the two knights are very strong, and this bishop, even though it's not attacking at the moment, it's protecting your king, and whenever I push the d pawn, the long diagonal opens up. So knight c6, capturing on a5, and that's it. I think white is better. Instead, we play a couple of moves, I go for the g pawn, you get the a pawn, and I didn't realize that the a pawn will be very fast. I think I need to come back. I need to come back immediately. Rook d4, a5, check, and then rook a1. I had to come back immediately, create a Tarrasch rook. A Tarrasch rook is a rook that's behind the pawn, so this is a pass pawn, and I'm preventing the promotion of that pawn because I placed the rook behind it so that it cannot be advanced. I had to do this before I start pushing my own pawn. But I was greedy. I was like, my pass pawn is stronger than yours. But you gave up your knight, and here knight c5. I'm a rook up. No, not the rook up, exchange. Why did I think I'm a rook up? Not the rook up. Knight c5, bishop b5. Yeah, this pawn is too fast. I can't catch it. I have to take. I needed to take this. Okay, this was the solution. I should take it and then go for the e5 pawn. But even that is not that simple. If rook f5, you can play knight to b4, and I can't take on e5 because that's a fork with knight c6 check. I have now more pawns, so g5, h5, and such. Black has some chances, but yeah, I didn't play this part of the game very well. And I had to give up my rook for the a pawn. There was no other move here. And this has to be a draw. This is a draw because, well, even if I lose all my pawns, 2 minor pieces versus 1 minor piece is a draw. But I can try to promote my pawns. That's what I was doing. But Shakhtami, you defended well because you gave up the piece in the right moment. So this was good. I think you have to sacrifice. If not, my 2 connected pass pawns are strong. You gave it up in the right moment and getting the h pawn and then the e pawn. So well played. All in all, I think it was a very exciting game. Congratulations, Shakhtami, and congrats to everyone who played today. I think you all played very exciting, fighting chess. And I'm very proud of those moments where you play these really brilliant moves. Like some of them maybe were not objectively that strong. But hey, also I made lots of mistakes. I mean, like the attacking game, knight takes d5. That's a sacrifice that I think was not objectively a good sacrifice, but it worked in the game because I got myself into trouble. So well done, everyone. Well done. I hope that you enjoyed the show. I will be back next Sunday, same time, I believe. So if you didn't have a chance today to play against me, you will get it probably next Sunday. I try to do my best and accept as many challenges as I can. And as I said, I'm gonna be streaming tonight again on my own channel on Twitch. So do check out the sub battle against Alexandra Botes. It's Team Anna versus Team Alexandra again, and I can't wait. I think my team will be crushing Alexandra's team. That's my prediction. I'm gonna post the link on my social media, so if you follow me, then you will see it for sure on Twitter or Instagram. And I'll see you guys maybe later on tonight or next week on Chess24 here. I think the same time, same place, but it's gonna be announced, so stay tuned for the announcements and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. Keep playing chess and see you shortly, hopefully. Bye bye.